Hey friends, welcome to the Stationery Cafe, your podcast for everything stationery, journaling, planning related, and fun things happening in the community. I'm April from Penguins Creative on Instagram, and in today's episode, our special journaling expert is Patrick Ng from Hong Kong. For those who love Traveler's Notebook, you must know Patrick, the super user of the brand Traveler's Company, and someone who really took this lifestyle brand to the next level with his innovative creations in Hong Kong's Log On. I'm so honored to have him come on the show and share his story with us. Hey, Patrick, welcome
Hello,
to the
April.
Stationery Cafe.
I'm very happy to be here.
I am
Long time no see.
so honored to have you here. It's been
Thank
so
you.
long. It's
When was that?
20, oh my God, I'm trying to think. I think it was summer of 2015 because I remember
Okay,
after
right.
I see you at that meetup, in the
Uh-huh.
evening, we met at Yongkangjie for
Yes,
beef
yes,
noodle, and it was
yes.
so hot. We were
Yes.
both sweating, but you were
Yeah, yeah,
carrying
yeah.
all your bags and
A lot of catalogs, stationaries,
all
but
the leather products you have, and we're all
yeah,
just
yeah,
so we're hot and sweaty and trying to
yeah.
eat beef noodles.
Right.
So
Yeah,
that was the most memorable part. But oh my God, that
yeah,
was the first time I met you in person. And although I already know about you through,
yeah.
social media and being part of the,
Instagram or
I think
at that time?
Instagram,
Instagram, right?
like Traverse Notebook, you were the super user that Traverse Company
Yeah.
has promoted on their website and
Oh,
all
I was
that.
number 6.
Yeah,
They call
you're
it professional users, right? So they once in a while they interview somebody, and then I was really honored to be at number 6.
it's amazing. And then I remember seeing you, and then you were talking with Thomas at that event to
Yes,
share with us what analog is. Thomas is from Taiwan. He is
yes,
like an architect professor, and he also
yeah,
is a user of Traverse Notebook. And I just remember that day was the day that really solidified for me,
mm.
okay, Traverse Notebook is this. Like, this is how, you know, enthusiasts use Traverse
Right.
Notebook.
So you were doing a lot of journaling already, right? At the
I
time,
was, I was, I was doing
like Hobonichi.
Hobonichi and
Yes,
then other smaller
yeah,
planner brands, but
right,
Traverse Notebook, I was still not
yeah,
sure how to use it, but I do know the typical save the bus ticket, if there's even a bus
yeah,
ticket, that save like the
something
the
like that.
the restaurant ticket, and then you cut it, you put it into your book, you write
So
about
everybody
this.
uses it differently. So yeah,
Exactly. So I think I was really fixed on that's the way to use
uh-huh,
it. But
yeah,
then after listening to you guys' workshop, it was like,
yeah,
oh wow. So actually Traverse Notebook could be so versatile. And
yeah,
I it's been deep in my memory of my
yeah,
influence,
yeah,
actually.
yeah.
And it's been 5 years. Oh my
Yes.
gosh.
Well, actually, I don't do a lot of journaling. I use it mostly for business and personal notes, meetings, things like that. We can talk about that later on. Right?
Absolutely, because that's exactly what I want to touch on. Like you
Yes.
don't call it journaling, but to me,
Right.
I think that's like a step above it being a
Yeah.
hobby. It's like a real integration
Mm-hmm.
into your life to the fullest. So
Yeah.
I want to start from the very beginning, your super the stationery expert, like your Instagram feed is just always amazing. But when did it really start, and what kind of catapult you into the stationery
All right.
person
So,
you are today?
so that's two-part things, right? One, I think probably most of the people they know me from my Instagram, using a lot of different stationaries, especially Traveler's Notebook. But I wonder if they know my real job. You know, do you know? Do you actually know?
I know your real
Oh,
job.
okay. My real job is a stationery buyer. I've been doing stationery business for 16 years.
City
Um,
Super, right, is
City
the
Super in Hong
brand.
Kong. So in Hong Kong, the brand City Super in Hong Kong, we have 4 or 5 stores, and then the rest of the other, 10 stores are lock-on stores. So they are food and non-food business altogether.
Mm-hmm.
So I take care of 2 of the departments there. So one is
Mm.
stationary, the other one is we call it moving. It's like toys and gadgets, things like camera, Instax. That all these things are really related, right? That's why that's so much fun for me to do. In terms of work, I always tell people that I'm using company money to buy things I like. So that's really
It
a
does sounds like
dream
a
job,
dream
right?
job.
To many people, but that's just the tip of the iceberg. That's only the fun part of it. 99% of my job is really tough and really exhausting. We go anywhere in the world to find things. It sounds good, right? It's actually really exciting for me. But there's also a downside of it. You're very tired all the time, and you get to meet a lot of people. Yes, but you have to deal with a lot of problems with people as well.
I
So
remember you sharing that
yeah,
with us, like, the glamour
yeah,
of a stationary
yeah,
buyer is only on the
right.
surface, and there's a
Yes.
lot, like you don't want to be a stationary
Yeah, yeah,
buyer.
yeah. I always tell people you don't want to be a stationary buyer, and also that's really about business. So it's about ordering, having heavy inventory. Then you have a big problem. You have to make sales as well. So how do you keep a balance? That's always a difficult thing. But going back a lot more, why did I start to have an interest in stationery? Not only because of my job, right? It was definitely from my father, and he was actually a person buying and selling Chinese paintings, you know,
Mm.
all those water brush calligraphy, and so since my childhood, at home, all the walls were filled with paintings. So he would be showing different paintings every day, rolling them up and, looking at them in very detail, sometimes 2 a.m. in the morning, toilet break. So I would see him looking at paintings using a flashlight, studying the stamps, studying the seals, studying the
Mhm.
calligraphy styles from different artists, trying to be, very fluent about their styles
Mm.
because he has to sell the paintings to people like Daimalu's CEO,
Yeah.
or he would be bringing those paintings to auction houses
Mm.
to sell them there, to have auctions there. So that's why he's been very intensely studying paintings. So my influence started from there. But about stationery, it's really he uses really simple stationaries. So all he uses just Maypad, those yellow notepads,
Notepad,
blinded notepad.
yeah, the
Yeah,
legal pads, right?
yeah,
Yeah.
legal pads, and the pen's called Boxy. Do you know Boxy from
Oh,
uni? It's a
okay.
roller pen, roller ball pen. So it has three colors: red, blue, and green. And it's very simple, roller ball pen. And he uses it all the time. So to him, it's a really simple system.
Mhm.
And comparing to what we have today, like the stationary world, importing so much from Japan is totally different at that time. Of course, you can choose a lot of different styles, but I think he finally chose his system. His system
Mm.
is just legal pad and roller ball pen, and he wrote a lot. It's strange. He likes to write in red ink. So I don't know why. Maybe it's good for his eyes. I don't know. Yellow legal pad and red ruler ball pen. You know, that's his system. So to me, it's just as simple as that. Once you find a good system, you use it all the time, and you don't really need to take care of or worrying about where to find them. Where to find a suitable pen for this paper, that
Yeah.
type of thing. So for me, that's a big difference. My job is handling a lot of different brands and stationaries. So as I said, I've been in business for 16 years. I think soon after, around 4 or 5 years after that, being a stationary buyer, I started to simplify my system because I had too much to try, too
Yes,
many things to try.
so many pens in just one year.
Unlimited, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's basically how I got to know how a person really used their stationery or create their own system, because even today when we, he passed away like 8 years ago. Even today when we go back home, my mother was pulling out things he wrote, and we were just reading them. Some of them are just like his personal inspirations from the
Hmm.
paintings. Some of the notes are the things about Buddhism, how he sees some of the passages he read. So it's really interesting to look at those
Wow.
things, particularly when he wrote those things. We were so young. We were just little kids and didn't know anything
You
about
don't
Buddhism.
appreciate like
Yeah,
the kind of insights that he was doing, that
yeah.
mindfulness that he has
Yeah,
for his craft.
yeah. And we often saw him like thinking deeply, very quiet. You don't know what's going on in his mind. And now I know. And now I know what happens, because that's how my kid is looking at me once in a while. Yeah,
I love that. And
come
I
full circle.
now it like makes so much sense because the way you use the Traverse Notebook, at least that I know of, it
Yeah,
always felt very intentional. Like you say you
yeah,
don't journal, but your pages look like they're just like the something from your head is going
yeah,
onto
yeah, yeah,
paper through
yeah.
like sentences, paragraphs, and
Yes,
doodles. And to some people, it might look like journaling, but it's really like
yeah,
you processing what
right,
you're like interpreting on
yeah.
whatever project you're working on or whatever step you're doing. And
Yeah, I like to do that because the thing is, you do it as instantly as possible. I don't really want to go back home and then, recollect what happened during the daytime. Of course, I do that often, but I really want to capture at the moment. And
yes,
then if I have all those feelings, I want to put them down, and I would first sort of like meditate first, to have everything organize a little bit more. Then when I sit in front of my blank pages, I would feel free flow to really start to do something, and not worrying about formats or textures or layouts, things like that. Just go with the flow. That's how I try to process my thoughts. At one hand, as instantly capture anything as possible. On the other hand, before you start, when you're sitting down, you try to meditate first, and really try to organize a little bit before you start. So
love that.
it's very different.
And the
Yeah,
location doesn't matter, right? Like it could be waiting like on the before your flight, or it could be
yeah,
like on the
right.
train, it could be at the cafe or at the restaurant. And I think that's what really this movement of
Yeah,
journaling, or we
yeah,
call it journaling, but like it's
right,
analog, really is
right.
about. Is like, capturing and reverting back to the practice of writing whenever or
Yeah,
wherever you
yeah,
are. And I love
yeah.
that about it. um, well, this brings us to the next part. I really want to dive into
Mm.
you breaking down your system this year for
Oh,
us.
okay.
Like a lot of people like, how many books do you use in a year? Like what kind of book do you use? What do you use for work? What do you use for personal journaling? What is
Yeah.
your lineup this year? Can you
Wow.
share with us?
Okay. So we don't have video, right? We are not recording. Are we recording video?
We are
Because
recording video too.
okay. So the
But
audience may not see what I'm showing, right? So maybe in the future you will show some of the video clips, so that people know what I'm talking about, because it's really hard to explain visually what's inside my notebook. Okay. So I use camel color leather traveler's notebook, and then I have one pocket system to store some of the name cards, business cards, masking tapes, and I try to be simple. So I'm not trying to make my notebook as thick as possible, or I mean, I try to make it as thin as possible because I need to travel quite a lot, and I want to carry my notebook all the time. So
yes.
I don't want to feel it like a burden to carry it around, and I usually do a quick system, meaning one of my notebook, uh, I would be using the bookmark to hold it inside like
Hmm.
this,
On the
instead of sliding it into the elastic band, if you know what
oh,
I mean, right? If
just
you
using the
slide in,
bookmark.
yeah,
right?
just using the bookmark and then slide in the bookmark into the refill and then just put into the notebook. So once you want to have quick access to your refill, you don't need to pull out everything. You just need to release the bookmark and then pull out the refill, and then you
Ah.
carry that refill to a quick meeting, or on a plane. You don't want to carry everything. You just want a blank notebook, right?
Hmm.
Blank refill, not the whole system. So that's my way to use refill. That's most often the way I use refill, right? So
Okay.
um, usually, other than the big pocket, which I store. Okay, let me go through also the other pocket I have. The other pocket is a zipper pocket, which I store receipts
Mm.
and Instax photos, and then one extra fountain pen. So this one is Chronodex. It's a clickable fountain pen. I like it a lot. It's lightweight.
Nice.
You don't worry to lose it. And then I store some name cards. These are more funny name cards. Have you seen these before? They are like rectangular shape.
Yes. Is it from the company Moo, like the ones
Yeah, it's a
that
move card. So I
print like
like to do it.
interesting, unique small
Yeah.
cards?
You actually export your Instagram photos to that company and then they print assorted for you. So you have
Mm.
literally, hundreds of different name cards with your different photos. And so when you hand out to people, you usually just show them, all of them, and then they would have a difficult time to, pick one of them. So that's a really great conversation starter.
I
We
know,
need
because your
that.
Instagram feed is already amazing to begin with. So, I want, like, if I were to pick, I want like two to
All of them,
three.
right? Two different, yeah, yeah. So that's really a good conversation starter, and it actually helps in situation where sometimes you meet new people, but it's kind of feel like weird to start any topic other than
Mhm.
weather, So that helps a lot. So other than the pockets, I have usually I carry two refills, right?
Mhm.
One refill is about schedule, calendar.
Mm.
So this is my Chronodex schedule.
Mhm.
Okay, this part maybe we can touch about it later
We
on.
will
So
definitely have to dive into what the
yeah,
Chronodex is.
yeah, so I use this part to record my past activity related to dates and also plan future meetings
Mhm.
and their priorities as well using this system. So one review is a Chronodex system. The other is I use lightweight paper
Mhm.
from Italy. So lightweight paper, you have 160 something pages. It's really amazing how many you can put inside because the paper is so thin and
Yeah.
still absorb ink quite well. So sometimes, of course, it depends on the ink, but when you do stamping, uh,
Yeah.
many times you can still use the backside of the stamped pages.
Yeah.
So, and even like watercolor,
Mhm.
uh, sometimes you can use the backside either also, right? And so for this notebook, for this lightweight paper notebook, I use it just randomly. Anything I would just put it on. For example, I can just quickly flip through. It's like watercolor ideas about character,
Mhm.
stamping, and then meeting notes,
Wow.
stamping, signed from when somebody I met wanting to sign my notebook.
Nice. That's totally what we do. Like we would be like,
Yeah,
please write
yeah,
in
we
my
did that before. Yeah,
pages a little bit. Oh,
yeah. When you go to Japan, you have so many stamps in
yeah.
stations, in shops, and you want to stamp. And I would do mind mapping on this notebook as well. So a central idea, for example, okay, how about this? We can talk about this Kokuyo Design Award. Okay, that was a meeting I visited Japan to attend the Kokuyo Design Award. So
Mhm.
the main subject was the award ceremony and what happened during the award ceremony.
Oh.
And the designer, after they've chosen the winner and champion and then runner-ups. they would explain why they are doing that, what
Mm,
was the good point about the best design, and so I would be, using my map to write down all these notes, so that
nice.
when I look back this mind map, I can clearly relate to what was happening visually on stage.
Right.
So that is really important to me. I really dig into mind mapping. So because it's not just really some concept on paper, it's really relating to what were you doing
Right.
during you write the mind map and during the time you look at the stage.
And
Uh,
it's also like a way of logging like
yeah,
what's around you, right? On a
yeah,
very conscious
yes,
way.
yeah,
I love that. There's so many drawings, like quick notes. I can see that it's like pencil and sometimes
yeah.
like interlaced with ink, fountain pen ink, and watercolor. It really is a commonplace notebook in a way for people to better understand this, I think, insert. And I see that you also have tabs, right? Like, is that how you
Oh yeah,
quickly go to the pages that you want to reference
yes.
later?
Yeah, so sometimes it's so mixed up in this one notebook, right? So there are important things like meetings after meetings, but they are in separate pages, right? So I would be using one color to, mark like this is the page about work, right?
Right,
So I usually when I um, near the end of the using this notebook, I would be putting post-it notes with different colors, so I can quickly flip through the corresponding color to
right.
find out what I want, right? And also I would be looking at some watching documentaries
Mm,
about human brain, in this case human brain, how things work inside the brain, what chemicals were being released. So that's kind of different from my daily job, my daily work, but that gave me a lot of insights how things work inside, and it's often very different from the surface.
right.
uh, so during the documentary, I would be, drawing things down, capturing what happens, and then uh, it's the same thing. When I look back this page, I can clearly see in my mind what was on the television. Yeah, that's
I
yeah,
love
that's
that
really
so much. It's like a very intentional notebook, and you really attempt and try to capture it whenever that happened. And so, for many of us, like keeping a notebook or using a system like this is more of like at the end of the day, then you sit down and
yeah,
you write. But like,
right.
no, this is actually be with you at all times. Like,
Yes,
between work, casual, personal events, this is a place to capture every little moment. And
yeah, yeah, and you can probably realize I use different medias. Sometimes it's brush pen. I like to use touch pentel touch,
mm-hmm,
which is a brush pen. So
yeah,
I can have varying strokes and sometimes calligraphy. And sometimes you want to stress some of the lines or bold text. You
right.
can use it pretty efficiently. So that's one. The other thing is, like I said, I would use a clickable fountain pen like this one,
Mm-hmm.
like the Curida's clickable fountain pen.
Mm-hmm.
So later on we can talk about my pens, and yeah, that's a lot to cover. And then I would be using pencil as well. So these three are always with me. So
Mhm.
pencil, I use mechanical pencil
Mm.
because it gives you the finest line possible,
Mhm.
and you can also control the weight of your lines by
Nice.
pressure. So you can also determine whether it is just temporary, notes, which later
Right.
on you can erase, or just light lines. You can later on add ink on it.
Ah.
So it has so much flexibility, and also sometimes it helps me a lot because uh, during journaling, or when you try to record something, some people call it sketch note,
Right.
sketch. So you always worry about doing it wrong, or it's
Right.
just one way ticket that you cannot go back and erase something. So a pencil helps a lot to get through
Nice.
that. So you don't need to worry about anything. Just go ahead and do it. And don't
Mm-hmm.
worry about layout formats or things like that. And then once you get more comfortable, then you can use a touch pen or a fountain pen.
Right, right. It's like
Yeah.
drafting and like
Yeah.
kind of practicing that habit first without fearing for
Yeah.
consequences. Because a lot of time it's like thinking you can't do it that stops people from even doing it
Yes.
in the first
It stops the
place.
flow, right? Yeah, and
Nice.
if you can follow the flow, and you often distracted by other minor things,
Right.
and so that that flow is very important for me.
Mm-hmm.
So I hate to be stopped during these process, and so that's why this pen loop is very important to me, because I want to keep one pen always accessible very quickly from my traveler's notebook. Because the original, the one they produce,
Right,
is very small, and then the pen, once you slide into the pen loop,
right.
it's like, I don't know how to explain it.
It
It's like,
wiggles a little bit because of
yeah,
the width, right? It's the one that
yeah,
clips onto the cover. It's like the brass clip,
yes,
right? And yours is very unique. It's much longer, right,
yeah,
in length. And
yeah.
what are you attaching that to? Is that
Okay, so this one is, I mean, okay, this is how do you call that? What type of paper is that?
Tyrex? Like the
Tyrex. Yes, that's Tyrex. That's a thick Tyrex Tyrex paper,
right.
and then I slide in this Tyrex paper into the elastic band first,
Mm-hmm.
and then I stitch the leather loop on this Tyrex paper.
Oh,
Yeah.
right.
Yeah, so I can put a thin mechanical pencil there,
So
or
the
a
entire
thicker.
thing is a sleeve, but then it
Yeah.
has the leather pen loop part at the
Yes.
very end. So, you
Yeah.
can actually take this pen loop
Yeah.
unit and move it
Yes.
into whatever new insert or new book you're using.
Yeah. So the pen loop is longer than usual. It's about 9 cm length in length.
Mm-hmm.
So most of the pen, once you slide in, due to friction, it stays there quite stable, and you don't
Very
need to worry
snug.
too. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like if the pen loop is too small, and you worry about the pen being slid off and you lose the pen, right?
Right.
But because there's friction inside, once you close the cover,
Mm-hmm.
once you close the cover, and it's almost like the cover squeeze the pen loop and to
Mm,
hold the pen tight. Yeah, so
nice.
that's why I made this up to help me keep a pen handy,
That's awesome.
right?
Yeah. The one thing about Patrick is he always like he wants his system to work for him. So he figures out ways to
Yeah,
customize and like, jig or rig like the system to match
yeah.
his needs. Cause I'm eyeing, yeah, the one you're holding right now, that little
Mm.
pad. Like, can you tell us a little bit about
All
how
right.
this plays into your notebook system?
Yeah. So there are, so as I said, there's one refill for calendar schedule.
Mm-hmm.
The other one is for capturing
Mm-hmm.
notes and ideas. So there are things like more organized, like task lists.
Mm-hmm.
And there are things very messy, like you want to flow on a huge piece of paper, like A4, big
Mm,
size A4 paper, and you don't want limitation by the notebook's, slim size. So there are all these papers. On one side, you have a lot of these loose papers
mm-hmm.
uh, from different occasions where you may not be able to pull out your refill, and you don't want to be limited by the size of your refill.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes I would pull out a A3 piece of paper to draw a huge mind map.
Right.
Um, yeah, or even like stick, like scrapbooking something on it to make sure I have a visual understanding or something. So on one side, there's all these loose paper. I would use a clip to hold them. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
that's it. That's one pile. And the other pile is a lot more organized, like the task list.
Mm-hmm.
So this is clip this one I also made it from leather and normal binder clips. Uh,
Nice.
yeah. And then this holds one single piece of paper. It's called the Chronodex Daily Scheduler with to
Mm,
do. Okay. So this is just one piece of A4 paper folded in third,
thirds, yeah.
right? Yeah, and to show you more on screen. So on top of this part is the chrono decks. So
Mm-hmm.
this is one day. So today, maybe today I have a huge number of tasks I need to tackle.
Right,
So today there's a schedule today, and then
right.
there's a session I do today's focus. So I
Mm-hmm.
make sure I write down today's focus, so I don't get distracted by today's main really important task. Then there's a gratitude note at the end of the day, what
Mm-hmm.
really happened, and which I appreciate a lot. Even if that's tiny little matters, I would like to write it down to make sure I think this day is worth
Mm-hmm.
all the travel. Then
A
the
giant
other
checkbox
giant
list.
checkboxes, checklist. It's basically the GTD system, getting things
Oh.
done system. So that's the next action, projects waiting for, and someday maybe this
Mm.
part. So this paper is for intensive daily work, right? So as I said, I would use one of the reviews as a calendar, right?
Mm-hmm.
So once you arrive on that day, uh, you no longer have enough space to record or
Yeah.
plan your day. So that's why I need this piece of task management sheet.
Right.
Uh, so I print it out in double side. So after I finish on one side, next day I turn it back
And you can
to
start
that side
using
and
it.
start another
So
another
how
day.
do you organize it after these 2 days are over? Do you just keep them in like a thick stack of these sheets, or do you incorporate them into like how do you
Yeah,
archive them? Yeah.
yeah, you tend to do a new one and keep the keep the old one, right? Because you don't want to copy things over, right? If there's something
Oh.
unfinished, you want to keep it unfinished here, but you want to start something new using another. So
Mm-hmm.
that's actually a big problem, because after 3 days, you
Mm-hmm.
have 3 pages of things you haven't done.
Yes.
So that's not helping. So I try to do it every day,
Mm,
as much as possible. So normally I would have one or two of these daily tasks.
mm-hmm.
So once it get to three, it's impossible. So the thing that the list gets too big, and you start to procrastinate, and you don't want to really
Yes.
look at it in the morning. So that's a big problem. And you have to train up yourself to really, you know, uh, um, face it head on.
Mm-hmm.
Don't worry about it. There are things that really not important. So today you think it's important. That's why you put it at top priority.
Right.
But actually, tomorrow morning when you look at this, there are more important things than this one. So you
Right.
don't have to worry about looking it again, right?
Right. Right.
Yeah, so you just have to face it and then lower the priority of it. And in the end, say for example, 1 week later, you've
Mm-hmm.
repeated this unfinished task 7 times, and then you know this is totally not important. Then you
Nice.
would cross it out. Yeah,
I like that. So really like, not just listing them out, but
yeah,
also looking back at these things and really reevaluate the priority and importance and then
yeah.
decide if you want to keep it or not. I love
Every
it.
day, as
And so
much as
you just have
possible.
like these two stacks of paper with the
Yeah,
binder clip. And so they're like loose in your Traverse Notebook system, right? So
yes,
overall, 3 inserts, 2 decks of paper,
yeah,
and the pen loop
yeah,
unit
yep, yep.
and the sleeve that has the pocket and the
Mm-hmm.
zipper pocket and the 3 mini pockets.
Yes,
Awesome. And that's just like the tool, the
one brick.
tool, the weapon that you a
Yeah,
frick.
yeah, and also during weekends, which I try not to work too much. So I would be using another refill at home.
Mhm.
I usually don't bring out to do like sketching on the street. I don't do that
Mhm.
because I'm not so familiar with doing that in front of other people. So I would have a refill, also lightweight paper, to start drawing something that probably was in my mind for that week. So this was something about you know, raining in the city, and
Mhm.
then I would have another drawing about the COVID situation.
Mhm.
Uh, it's also watercolor,
Did you just
and
learn to
then
draw on your own, like over time, like or
yeah, yeah, yeah. I didn't study art or anything. Just like Ijima-san, Ijima-san, he
from Traveler's
didn't draw.
Company?
Yes. So it's like we try to encourage people to do more, tries. Just don't worry. Just do your own drawing. Just be happy yourself, and you will eventually improve a lot.
Mhm.
Say, for example, looking back 1 year ago, your drawing was totally different, definitely.
Mhm.
So
As long as you do it, you'll see
yeah,
progress.
yeah, and also things like, oh, this parrot was really crazy, it was bugging me. So all of a sudden, this parrot. If you're a listener, you in the audience, I have I have a spread of page with a dozen of parrots I drew. This guy was bugging us a lot. He he suddenly one day he took interest in our cloth hanger and tried to damage every single piece of plastic, and we had a lot of clothes lost. And
Oh
so
no.
I tried to have a conversation with him, but it was not successful. So this happened over time, over a few weeks time, and eventually we changed all the plastic bits into metallic, and
Nice.
then finally he stopped. So that that was an interesting experience when you're in the COVID situation at home, looking at the window, and then you have a chance to talk to a. It's not a parrot; it's cockatoo. Yeah, that's how
A
they call it.
cockatoo.
Cockatoo.
See, I love this. Like, for other people, it would probably just be an Instagram photo on your feed or an
Yeah,
Instagram story, and then
yeah,
that's it, and then it disappears. But the
yeah,
way you choose to illustrate it out and like doodle, even it's not even like if you
yeah,
don't want to professionally call it a painting or drawing, it's
yeah,
doodles with like little conversations, like little writing
yeah,
pieces about it. It stays, and then like it's the little highlights during the COVID times, and I think
yeah,
that's really like what I aspire to do as well, and I love that you're
yeah.
sharing this with us.
We actually went to online store to buy a fake eagle. So that was
Scare
the
it
last
away.
resort. So yeah, to scare it away. People had good experience doing that, so it was really successful for them. But luckily, we after we changed all the curves pin into metallic, it's okay. We didn't need the eagle finally. Yeah. So yeah, this extra refill, I would be doing creative drawings, things like that. Try to record something. Yeah.
I saw on your feed you also have like that blue Traverse notebook with a lot of white ink, like that you
Oh,
use
okay.
white stays on to stamp on it.
Yeah.
So because you probably have a lot. Do you like interchange them cover like
Yes.
the covers to
Yes.
match the mood?
Mm,
So
right.
the system is the same. You just kind of house them
Yes.
in different.
Yeah.
Oh, got it. Okay.
Right. So my system, I changed the cover. For example, let me just pull out about three.
You have the white one too, the coveted white one.
No, that one I painted. The white one is.
Okay,
I
not even
used to have.
Patrick could get the white one.
Actually, I did. That time, I did get the. I think the first batch of white traveler's notebook.
Ooh.
I had it, but the quality was so bad.
Oh no,
They
because they had
yeah
to
they
bleach it, right? Like to make the color white.
Well, I don't think they bleach it. They just paint on the cover,
Right.
and then inside, I mean, the leather itself was not so good. It's kind of too thin, and
Hmm.
then the paint on the leather wrinkles,
Oh, like cracked or like start cracking, right?
cracked, and also it would get dirty very easily. So that was beautiful, but they never released that one. So I
Mm.
had that one, but somehow I got lost.
So you painted an
Yeah, as a
entire
painter.
canvas.
Yeah,
Nice.
yeah. So what I switched. So as you said, the system stays the same, the same reviews, same internal things, and I only changed two things: the cover and also those review covers. So I'm not
Mm.
sure what. Okay, so one of my, as I said before, one of my review is Chrono Decks diary, right?
Right.
So I would print those from A4 paper and then cut it into size. But this is just A4 paper cut into size, right? But
Hmm.
there's no cover. So I
Right.
would create covers
Hmm.
for every 6 months. So every 6 months, I have one different cover for that half year's diary. And
Yeah.
for this one, I stick the things I collected during that 6 months. So
Mm.
that relates to, as long as I see the cover, I would be able to tell what I can find inside those schedules,
What year that was,
what
or like
year that
what
was.
phase. And I love it. I think I saw in your post you kind of like broke it down. You said you don't decorate it all at one go. You always
Yeah,
take it with you, and like
yeah,
as life happens to you, you
yeah,
add and add
yes,
a little bit until at the end of that 6 months
yes,
it's
yeah,
completed, because and has
yeah,
like all the beer label, the shopping bag, little tidbits, and you
yeah.
and
So,
stamping too.
mm, so that's why I have a box of these small stickers and things I collect. So this is just a temporary box. So I keep it on my desk all the time. So if I like something, I pull up a wine label last night. I would be putting inside this tiny small box on my desk.
Hmm.
Okay, so later on, I would be putting them on my Chronodex schedules cover, like that. So as I said, I would change the cover once in a while, and then I would change the calendar cover every
Hmm.
6 months. Yeah.
Nice. What is
And
that box? It looks, even the box looks amazing. The tin
oh, you
box
don't
you
know
were
that?
using.
That's from Taiwan. Do you know that?
I think I recognize it because it's the one that does the ergonomic like
Yeah,
surface, right? That looks like mountains or like.
yeah. They call it landscape. So they
What is the
have
brand again for that one?
it's called Danzo, Danzo.
Danzo tin
Yeah,
boxes.
it's
Awesome.
Taiwanese company, Danzao. Right. Yeah. So
Yes.
they have different shapes. So some of them you can put your eyeglasses, your name cards on it. Some of
Right.
them are like volcanoes. Oh, I really want to show you all these. Oh, I have to
I know it has protrusions and concaves that kind of
Yes.
fits interesting items, little things, and
Yeah.
they themselves are
So
a little piece of art on your
right,
table.
right. And you put landscape on your table. You create your own landscape on your table, and I love it. I love it a lot. So this is my storage system on my desk. Right. So temporary, I would keep all these.
Hmm.
And then I would stick them on my Chronodex diary. And then the rest of the stickers and things I collected, I would put into a bigger box
Mm,
for later and other uses. So this is a bigger box
nice.
with all these other things.
Ephemeras, little things.
Yes, ephemera.
I love it. I love that. It's a problem, but also a fun one. Like sometimes we just have little pieces here and there. And
Yeah,
Phyllis, my co-host, and I, we always often talk about we will like end up with like this bag or pouch of just little
uh,
things, and then you're kind of like, I don't know what to do with them. And I love how you are building it into your Traverse Notebook insert on the cover so that it really
yeah,
became part of
yeah,
that face that you're logging. Oh my
yeah.
gosh, how many
Total.
covers do you have total, like for the Traverse
Total.
Notebook?
I don't count. Actually, I don't collect them. yeah, so I don't want to have the pressure to collect all of them. And actually, I don't like to collect and never use any, of them.
Mm,
So I would like to use all of them if I get them. So these are the five I would be switching most of the time, and one of them is like the oldest since the beginning.
ah,
You
the
know,
brown.
this the brown one, the very first one from Travelers Company. At the time, they don't call themselves Travelers Company, just Travelers Notebook,
Hmm.
and Midori Company. So that's why at the back of the leather notebook it says Midori, right?
Yes,
Yeah.
I have one of those too. It was
Yes.
back in 2013 when I bought my first one.
Yeah. So this is the original brown one, the very first one, and then I have this Tokyo Station one special edition.
Hmm.
Only you can only get it from Tokyo Station.
Hmm.
I have the blue one, which you mentioned. I put a lot of white ink stamps on
Hmm.
them. I think I was the first one to do that. I think
You
first
are.
one.
When you did it, it was just
Yeah.
phenomenal. I think in the stationery circle, we're all like mind blown, like,
What
oh
ink
my
are you
God.
using?
Exactly. Like we were wondering. And then a lot of people also have like, oh my God, I cannot put like an ink
Yeah,
on it. I'm so
too
scared.
much pressure.
Yes, like once it's on, it's on. But then that really set off a trend. And I like how right now you even customize it to have that spine be that
Oh yeah,
pastel-y
yeah.
color. So at first I was like, what color is that? But it's the blue one.
Yeah, it's a blue one. It's the very first blue edition. It's not the the re-released one. It was
Right.
the limited edition. I painted the spine and the edge like
Ah,
industrial green. I think this contrast is very nice. Probably in the future, I think this is Travelers Company started to have graphics or gold foil stamping on the
right.
cover, right? Probably in the future, I think they should do something like this to have more
Yeah.
fun. But they try to slow down. They try to not rushing to release too many different
Mm.
versions or special editions.
Oh.
So probably this year there will be no special edition. That's how I think. Yeah.
They have the Kyoto
So
one.
yeah, the other two are olive and camel. Yep.
Mm-hmm.
That's all.
I love it.
Yeah.
Let's get into the Chronodex. I think it's
Oh,
time for
okay.
us to kind of delve into that system. So, Patrick, you are the person who came up with the Chronodex. Like you
Yeah.
designed, created. It was back in 2012. It was featured by Life Hacker, and it just took off from there. And today we kind of see versions of it in like stamps. So for those who are not familiar with the Chronodex, it looks like a little node with
Yeah.
it's like a round circular thing with like little legs pointing out, like, so it's like a full circle. And then it's very interesting because there's so many variations of it today, like people like upgrade it
Yeah.
or like use it as on its own as a singular stamp, or
Yeah.
but for you it was the book too, right? It was the A5 slim was probably the size, the standard traverse notebook size,
Yeah.
with it with these Chronodex images
Yes.
be a part of the insert itself, and you share them on your website Scripton
Yes.
every half year, like every,
Yes.
yes, semi-yearly, and then you share like, okay, so this is the one for 2020 January to June, and then around that time you'd be like,
Yes.
okay, here's the one from July to December.
December. Yes.
And can you tell us a little bit about like so how does this differ from the standard um,
Right.
dated calendar that people see on the market, even though when you look at it, it's
Yeah.
like completely different?
Yeah. Yeah. So I think I did it in 2011
11 even.
for the year 2012, right?
Got it.
For the season 2012. So so 2011, I worked in City Super as a stationery buyer for 8 years already, right?
Mm,
So all this time, one of the major category we have is schedule book and diaries.
yes.
So every year I have to import from Japan and from other parts of the world a lot of diaries and schedules to Hong Kong. Uh, Here's a funny thing: the first time I did it, I overshoot. Like I ordered 900 different
Wow.
schedules. So it was like crazy because I had no reference. I have limited data to support me at the time. So I had to try everything. I visited Japan. I visited Frankfurt, Paper World. Uh, I chose a lot, and every one of them looks similar, and also kind of different in sometimes the way they do it in size or cover or the layout and formats. But they're basically grids.
Mhm.
Schedules are like grids, and so after that first year, it was horrible. I mean, I had overstock everything. Things like I ordered 60 pieces and we sold 10 pieces.
Oh no.
That was horrible. But right after that year, that big failure that year, I had the most accurate data because I know the maximum possible size, number of schedule I can get into our store. For example, 6 shelves to hold 10 layers,
Mhm.
meaning 600, something like that. So 660. So I know the proper size of the things I can do, and also I knew how many people would like to get a monthly thin schedule diary,
Mhm.
and how many people like the A4 size and A5 size, because it's all there. It's all sitting there.
You really
It's all
had to
sitting there over,
maximize the
so
data
maximize it
capacity.
possible. So from then on, from second year onward, I every year I did it very accurately, and I could predict what people would buy the next year. So that was very interesting, and the sales would grew up every year,
Mhm.
and very well managed. And because of that experience, I saw uh, all of the schedules are the same. They are in grid. And so I have a problem with that because I'm a visual person. I use mind map. I try to draw anywhere on a piece of paper. So if there's a grid, if there's a grid there, that limits what you can do with it, right? So
Right.
Monday, for things happening on Monday, you can only write on the tiny little space that says Monday.
Yes.
Nothing else. And then if for example, in the past week, you didn't use Thursday, the slot Thursday slot is empty. You really don't want to write something on, to pass
I
because
know, like, yeah, it felt like that's for Thursday. It's not
yeah,
for like Saturday or the day you're on. Yeah.
yeah, it's like recording something not really happened on that day. So I have a really big problem with that. So
Mhm.
I want to liberate that. I don't want the space to be dedicated by the grid.
Mhm.
So that's why I converted, the timeline into a circle and put it
Mhm.
into the center. So once the timeline is in the center, just like a clock, so it's the time is just an indicator. It's just an index,
Mhm.
and then you can use the rest of the space for your note, for
Mhm.
your, text,
Mhm.
and you're no longer bound by the grid, no longer bound by that day. So if you look at a Chronodex schedule, there are empty spaces. You can always fill up these empty spaces without worrying that you're indicating that something happened not on that particular day. And then you
Yes.
can always draw a line to point it back to that date that's happening. So that liberated the space. That allows me to maximize the space by concentrating the timeline into the circle. So that's why the name Chronodex. Chrono
Mhm.
means time, Dex means index. So
Mm.
it means this diary is just an index of time. And then the rest of the page, you can feel free to use it and then point it back to that index, and you know what happened on that day.
I love
Yeah,
it.
that's the basic idea of that. And even to this date, all the diaries are still grids. So I think it's totally different.
Yeah, I feel like It's like that juxtaposition of needing structure, but
Mm.
also wanting to break out of the box. And I was reading through, your blog post about Chronodex. You said that instead of blocking time, you are
Mhm.
defining time through fluid visualizations. And I thought
Yeah.
that's really, I feel like, yeah, like you said, liberating, because
Yeah.
why when we're making plans, sometimes they move from time to time. And I could
Yes.
easily have that little item there, scribble
Hmm.
out that line that connects it to the Monday note and
Yeah.
reattach it to the Thursday note. And I think
Yes.
that's just ingenious. I love that there's so
Yeah.
much flexibility and versatility to that system. And
Yeah.
it's a different way to think about your day or,
Yeah.
or or your week. And I think sometimes when we're really stuck in like the daily
Hmm.
routines, the daily monotonous lifestyle, if you will, especially during COVID, sometimes
Yeah.
it's nice to look at your week in a very
Yes.
refreshing way. And I think the Chronodex insert or the system really allows you and like people who
Yeah.
uses it to have
Yeah.
that fresh way of looking at things.
Yeah, and some people use color coding to really looking back on their weeks. So, for example, I would be using, for example, red color for something really important to
Hmm.
highlight the shading. So if you look at the Chronodex refill I have, uh, it's okay. It's the other way. So
Hmm.
Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday is on the left side of the page.
Hmm.
Thursday and Friday is on the right hand side, and Saturday and Sunday is really tiny here, right?
Hmm.
Okay, so visually you can memorize it very easily. So if you're used to the layout, Monday is always on your top left hand side,
Hmm.
Wednesday is always on your top right hand side, right?
Right, because
And
you're
then,
you're flipping the book to the side and looking at
yeah,
it
yeah, I use it
horizontally.
sideways,
Hmm.
horizontally. And then, for example, on Wednesday, you see this big pie I shaded.
Hmm.
It's in the area from 2 o'clock to 3 o'clock.
Hmm.
So this big shade visually is giving you a memory signature, right? So once you
Hmm.
close the book and then you remember on the top right-hand corner, there's just this huge shaded area that says 2 to 3 p.m. And
Hmm.
then it helps you to memorize what is happening there, what will happen there. So
Hmm.
it's also a visual way to memorize your schedule. And so some
Hmm.
people use color coding, for example, very um, urgent or something important, they would be using red to shade. And if something is pleasant to do, well, we'll be using green color. And then once you finish doing that in 1 week, then you see how it went the past week. Like, oh, come on, everything is pushed forward to me, and then everything I was responding to everybody and
Hmm.
everything. So I didn't enjoy my own time doing the green thing, you know.
Hmm.
So you literally can inspect your week and then have some thoughts about it and how to improve your week. Try to
Right.
enjoy much more than before. So the next
Right.
week you try to improve. That's color coding your week. And another interesting thing most people actually didn't notice in Chronodex is that there are 3 layers,
Mm.
concentric circles.
Yes.
So for every area of the schedule you shade, you
Hmm.
can choose to shade 1 level, 2 level, or 3 levels. So
Hmm.
that means priority.
Mm.
That means if that appointment is really important, you shade it 3 levels, and then the pie would be so big you can memorize it.
You
You can feel
cannot avoid, like
comfortable.
you
Yeah,
would
you can avoid.
recognize and like
Yeah.
notice it right away. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So that's why it's not only liberating the space, it's also trying to provide a sense of priority of your
Mm.
schedule. So try to put several things into one schedule for my own use. So that year, I actually didn't release that for other people. I released it for myself. I did it myself, and then I thought, oh, why don't I share to everybody? And there are travelers notebook users. They may want to try the system. They may be visual people
Hmm.
like me who don't like grids. So that's why I release it for free for
Hmm.
anybody to download. Yeah.
Yeah, you just have to like print it out on your own, cut it to size,
Yeah.
and then maybe even have that practice that you do, which is to customize the cover, which is probably the
Yeah.
most fun part for
Yeah.
that, little insert.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's amazing. I want to add that to my lineup. And my lineup for next year is
Mm.
already scary. I have like 11 different systems. I'm probably you back in 2011. Like, let's
Oh.
just try out all the notebooks.
Yeah, yeah. And how do you separate them, like for different purposes, right?
Yeah,
Hobonichi, of
exactly.
course, you must have multiple Hobonichi for the same year, right?
I started branch out. Like I used to be that way, but now I'm like, I want to try out Noti. I want to try out
Yeah.
like
Oh, okay.
the Traverse Notebook for a different system. And then here we have like the bullet journaling community. So
Yeah,
the A5 dot grid is very popular right now.
yeah.
So I'm just kind of I can't confine myself to one thing yet. I haven't found
Okay.
my system yet, but I
Yeah.
aspire to be.
Well, you're still young.
Well,
You have
five
to
years
explore a lot
older
more.
from
Yeah.
when we met.
Yeah. Just like me, I had to order a lot of different schedule books and diaries. So I would be focusing on one eventually. Yeah.
I love that. And then it's like there's always new things coming out. And then sometimes we
Yeah.
just have to try it to give it like a spin.
Yeah,
And
like the Kokuyo Jibun Tacho.
mhm.
Yeah, that came out a few years ago. There's a huge crowd following that one as well.
Absolutely. This year they came out with the Jibun Days, and
Yeah,
it's funny the founder Kokuyo company was like, "Oh, we're just giving it a try," but like, "Oh my God, so many people
yeah,
want it and now they're just out of stock everywhere." So it's kind of interesting to see how
mm,
planner brands try to like step out of their comfort zone too to expand. But it'd be interesting to see which brand would someday pick up kind of your train of thoughts and be like,
mm.
hey, what if we don't do it like everyone else?
Yeah, I hope so. I hope there are more different styles, not just layout.
Mhm.
Layout is one thing, but the format is. I
The
think.
system and the workflow and the way you approach how to journal
Yeah,
or how to plan or journal is really
yeah.
what's
Imagine that
important.
so many years they are printing the same grid format. And people are using the same thing for years, of course.
Yeah.
It's hard for people to change, but there are space, I think, like for creative people, visual people. Yeah. Oh, Midori did actually release an empty paper edition for
Oh,
Chronodex.
I remember there was a year. Do they still have it this year, like today?
No, I think that was when we had a special event
There was a limited
in
run,
Hong
yeah.
Kong. Yeah. So we did a set of 3 notebooks in A5 size. So on
Mm-hmm.
the left-hand side, there's similar to the daily scheduler format I mentioned,
Mm-hmm.
which has the Chrono Decks and then the focus, gratitude note, and then the GDD things. So, but
Mm-hmm.
that was on MD paper A5 notebook. That was one of the interesting thing I did with Midori. Uh,
Nice. You did so many things with all these stationery brands all these years, and then a lot of them in with Travelers Company as well. Like for those who know you and know the brand, there's like the Star Fairy year when it was celebrating their fifth
yeah,
anniversary, and then I think over time you started a lot of initiatives with Hong Kong's brand to try to
yes,
incorporate more of Traverse Notebook's spirit, but also like letting it become like a brand growth on your own. So I want to like dive into that because not many people know about this.
yeah,
But Patrick, you kind of manage Log On, right? And like I would compare Log On to Loft. So it's like a lifestyle department plus stationery element in it. But recent years, well, actually it's been many years, you kind
hmm,
of created a brand called Manual Factory that
oh,
came
okay,
out of Log On,
hmm,
right? And
right,
to many people today, for those who know Manual Factory, it's the iconic bear
oh,
that
it's the
that
bear.
right. If you see the video later, Patrick has a lot of the Manual Factory bear in the corner of his screen, and I think I've kind of followed you, all these years, and I saw the process from it leaping
Yeah,
out from the page of your commonplace
yeah,
insert,
yeah,
the
yeah,
lightweight insert, and then today becoming like a mascot. But it's not just the bear, right? Like
yeah,
Manufactory is. Is it it's a brand, it's a store, but I think it's also like a movement that you want to try to promote. Can
Yeah.
you like share a little bit behind the story of
Well,
Manual Factory?
yeah, it was kind of related to Traveler's Notebook because at that time, everybody got the same, Traveler's Notebook. And even though you can do personalization, customization, do it in your own way, like how I did it with the stays on ink stamp on
Mm-hmm.
the notebook. And still, there are something we can do as a retailer, as a retail company. How can we help our customers? So at that time, I actually that happened when I was in the first Traveler's Factory store. I
Mm-hmm.
saw a vintage leather emboss machine, which
Mm-hmm.
is right beside me. I have it
Oh my
here.
gosh, that's amazing.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
the very first one I got.
Mm-hmm.
That this one's same as my age, so it's kind of old, and they don't produce it anymore. So at that time, I saw this machine in the Traveler's Factory in Nakamekuro. And then I asked Ijima-san, hey, can I do leather emboss using it? He said, no, this one is broken,
Oh.
or it doesn't really work that well because we got it from secondhand, the condition was not so good. So when I go back to Hong Kong, I immediately look for this machine. And then I found a good one, and then with different, letter sets and different fonts. So I bought it. Uh, but as you know, from my work, I didn't really need to do that, right?
Mm-hmm.
Normal person would be applying to my boss, say, oh, okay, I have an idea. Why don't we do it leather emboss and for our customers? And then we, the company shelled up like 5,000 Hong Kong dollar to buy a machine, which he may not understand what's that. Normal people would go through that, but at that time I thought it's just way too long to propose in this big company.
Mm-hmm.
So I bought the machine. So I bought the machine and then did it myself. And then until one time, I feel really confident. So when I had event in Hong Kong or Shanghai, I would carry this machine to the store and then just ask the store to give me a table. So why don't we just sell the notebook? I would be sitting there waiting for customer to buy a notebook, and then I would help them to do it
Emboss
leather,
and
emboss the name
customize it.
and go
Nice.
for embossing, things like that. So that went very well. And people were like crowd around me looking at me. What was I doing at that time? The personalization customization culture was not in Hong Kong retail store yet.
Mm-hmm.
So later on, those perfume companies, they would help customer to do perfume bottle
Mm-hmm.
laser engraving, things like that. But that was not
Mm-hmm. It's
that
not
didn't begin.
popular.
Yeah. So I was doing leather, and then more and more I added engraving machine, mechanical engraving machine, so
Mm-hmm.
that people, when
By
they buy
the
pens,
brass pens
brass
too.
pens, especially brass pens, we can do engraving on it.
Engravings.
Sometimes not only with the name, but in longer pens, we put the messages. So
Mm.
if you have a message you want to send to your boss or
Engrave it and then deliver
yeah, yeah.
it.
So there are many ways you can turn a normal product you get from the shelf into something meaningful.
Right. And
So
the brass clip too, right? Like that year
yes,
they came out with the brass clip, you kind of
yes,
let like this. I love how it's like you are the singular person manufacturing, which then eventually became like the whole retail experience. But you
yeah,
also like had this workshop where you can, I think, paint
yes,
into the concave parts of the traveler's notebook brass
yeah,
pen, so it looks like it's like white paint
yeah,
inside.
yeah,
And then so manufacturing really is about that whole customization and
yes,
make this notebook or this product your
yes,
own experience. And I think Traveler's Notebook do have it themselves, but you really took it to the next level with log
yeah.
on. And
Then the machine, people were looking for that
and then
machine.
people start looking for the machine, like
Looking at that
we don't
machine.
want just a typewriter anymore to have
Yeah,
that
yeah, yeah.
lifestyle.
More
we
than
want the
typewriters.
we want the whole engraving machine.
Suddenly a whole new gadget to get, right? And then of Of course, leather emboss machine, engraving machine. Then later on, I added laser engraving,
Mm-hmm.
laser cutting. So many of the products in our stores can be transformed into a nice gift using these machines and our service.
Mm.
So I group all these things. In addition, of course, many of these things are related to stationery, like notebook pens, do
Mm-hmm.
engraving, but like water bottle. You can do laser engraving on your water bottle or
Mm-hmm.
on the wooden part of your water bottle. And greeting cards,
Mm-hmm.
sometimes you want to write a message when you send somebody a gift. Also, pen and ink,
Yeah.
fountain pen and ink. You want to use our sample ink and sample fountain pen to write a note for your gift recipient. And then sometimes you want to add a charm with the person's initials on
Mm-hmm.
it. So there are a lot of things lying in the store, but they are just sitting at different corners. So then I created this brand, this name, Manufactory, to pull in all these things. Not only the machine, the people, the products, and the way to send a gift.
Mm.
So as a staff to help them, I created this character,
The
this
mascot.
bear, this mascot to represent our staff. He's wearing an apron,
Mm-hmm.
meaning he's working in the store to help our customers to do personalized gifting. So
Mm-hmm.
that's the whole concept. So it happened in 2015. So this is the fifth anniversary. So it happened 2015 and took off 2016. So
Yeah, I
that's how.
believe I might have seen your sketch of the manual bear during that
Yeah,
meetup we had, or
yeah.
something, and today it has evolved to like there's so many cute bears that you have in your
Yeah,
lineup. Like your most recent one is the cola one too,
yeah.
the one that looks clear, and it's a fun gift too, but it's also like it speaks to the spirit of like people like us who love collecting things. And when we journal, we don't just journal or write. We want like a little buddy next to us, or
Yeah.
like next to our coffee cup, or like kind of overlooking us. And I just did an episode with Esther the other day, and she
Ah,
was saying how she went to Okayama to meet the superior labor, and
ah,
she has the manufacturing bear. She
uh-huh.
met Makoto-san in the back of in the car, and in the back of his car was the manual bear you gave to him.
I see.
And that's when they're like, oh my god, this delta of connection. Like
Yeah,
they both know Ichima-san, they both know you. Everyone has a
yeah.
manual bear. Everyone has the
Yeah,
engraving of their name
yeah.
on the
And it was
apron.
interesting. I at the beginning, I didn't know it was kind of popular, right? It's more than I expected. But there was a time a supply, one of our stationery suppliers, she was sitting in a cafe and sent me a photo. That photo was a girl sitting doing journaling with the manufacturing bear right beside it in Taiwan. So I thought, oh man, it got to Taiwan and people really do that, not only me.
Yes, they do. like
Yeah,
like I'm so like sad I missed it, because 2015 is when I flew to the United
yeah,
States, and then it's really rare that I go back. But like nowadays I know you can also get it in Hsinchu's logon, maybe,
yeah, yeah,
right? So that's a place in Taiwan. So
yeah.
I really wish the next trip I go back, I can like visit and then like have a bear on my own, and
Yeah, I'll
like
do embossing for you.
have it say the stationery cafe. It needs a manual bear
Yeah,
for sure.
yeah, yeah.
And not just the bear, right? Like you later came out with a lot of cool fun items that really complements the analog
Mm,
lifestyle. Like for example, the vacuum bottle you just showed us, the
yeah,
vacuum bottle, sorry, that you just
yeah.
showed us. And not only like it's like it's amazing. You not only give us the bottle, you have that leather sleeve that you put on the bottle
Oh, yeah,
with
yeah.
pen holders, because you want
For
to
the
put
Travelers Company pen.
exactly, you want a pen with you with like the water bottle. And then
Yeah.
what was the other one? Oh, the quicksand bag that came out last
Yeah,
year.
yeah,
I
yeah.
was FOMOing so hard because I see it in Ina's photo. I
Oh,
think you
yeah,
guys did an event in Philippines and with
yeah.
Scribe, and then we're like
Right.
showcasing the bag.
Yeah.
It is like your typical canvas backpack, but with like all the pockets you need. That's really customized too. our
Yeah.
need of having little things here and there. Like, you
And
want
the major pocket was for the traveler's notebook.
exactly, exactly.
Yeah.
I love it so much.
Yeah,
And
but for any of these productions, what we're thinking is when we produce something, we want to make sure it's customizable. Like
mhm,
you can personalize it with laser engraving on the top of the bottle. And at the same time, we want to have a message to our customers. For example, this bottle, uh, it costs the earth metals, and carbon footprints to make a bottle like this.
right,
So how many bottles, how many plastic water bottles you have to drink, not
right.
drinking, in order to save enough resources to produce one of this. So
Mhm,
we calculated it's about 50. So
mhm,
if you buy this vacuum bottle and you use it more than 50 times, then you are really helping the planet by not using plastic bottles.
mhm.
So that message is also very important because you don't want to make something and selling it, and it helps to break down the earth. Yeah,
Exactly. I love that there's like always this message and like you really think it through and it's not just a gimmicky product, but it's more of like, how does it intermingle with the lifestyle? How does it apply to the traveler or the user that, is all we already have a busy life. Like what adds
yeah,
to it instead of like adding adding burden to it. It's like adding
yeah, yeah.
value instead of adding burden, right? And um kind of going on off of that topic too, like
Hmm.
expanding manufacturing and like sharing all these things around the world. You travel a lot, and like what is your like get up? Like, I know you have that leather suitcase, like kind of briefcase that's just
Oh,
covered with stickers and
yeah.
labels. Yeah, exactly, from so many years ago. Is that a new one? I remember it was more
Oh,
tightly packed.
I think that one, that this is the one you saw.
Okay, that
Yeah.
was the one I saw.
I have another bigger ones.
And I love that whole lifestyle where you're not, you know, a lot of people think putting stickers on stuff is like very childish and stuff, but like no, it's like part of your journey of collecting and
Yeah.
and incorporating that into your identity, your purpose or whatever. And your travel have really took you to many places, right? You even went to Portland, Oregon,
Yeah.
two,
Oh,
three
you
years
remember
ago,
that? Yes,
because you went
yes.
to visit Juan, who
Juan,
is
yes.
also another professional
He's
user from the
amazing.
Travelers Company. He
Yes.
draws the beautiful things in his Travelers
He
notebook.
plays guitar, he's doing everything. He's an
I
artist.
I love it. And then I like how you log it through photography and like have that be part of the analog experience, because it doesn't just stay in like an album on the internet. So you kind of incorporate the photography aspect into your travels as well. And I want to like remember that story where you and your friend Thomas, who's also a travel user, said you guys challenge yourself to not just take photos of the site of like the typical things you have to take photo of. You were
Yeah.
like, okay, we're staying in this small hotel room, let's have a competition to see who can take the
Yeah.
most interesting photo in
Yeah.
this hotel room.
Well, that was not Thomas. That was a guy, a traveler's notebook user in it's a
Oh,
Disney place in the US, Anaheim. Yes, Anaheim.
uh-huh.
I it was interesting. There was a follower,
Mm-hmm.
and I told everybody I would be going to Anaheim, and I wondered if there's anybody in Anaheim using Traveler's Notebook. You know, you never know. Somebody answered, and then it was him,
The
and then told me
meetups.
the meetups, and it was a guy. Usually guys don't don't do that, right? Don't meet up, right? So we meet up. We met up in a cafe, and then we also share the same interest in photography. So yeah, we did challenge with each other by doing topics. Like when he was younger, he traveled a lot in different places. I think he was doing the one of those chips business. I mean, not potato chips. Computer chips.
Computer chips, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and So he had to travel a lot, same as me. So what do you do in your hotel? There's nothing you can do in the hotel. We are not like always socializing. We meet everybody, go to drink. We were challenging each other. So next trip, let's take a photo of the hotel in your own way, and then we'll compare and see who's better using light, something like that.
I
That was
love
fun.
it.
So through Travelers Notebook, I met a lot of different friends. Really amazing, like you. That's just,
The meetup culture is really
yeah,
also a big part of the stationery community. Like you,
yeah,
every place you go, even if it's like a formal event that's like sponsored by Logon or like arranged by Trevor's company, or like these little like
yeah.
casual ones, we always have to do the Trevor's Notebook Tower, the stack.
Yes,
Remember
yes.
how
Yeah.
the one I went to, 2015, we had 56 Trevor's Notebook
Ah,
at
right.
one place, and we like
Uh-huh.
stacked them. But I think you guys broke a record in
Yeah,
Hong Kong, right? Or was it
yeah,
in Seoul? Because I know
yeah,
they did one in Times Square,
yeah,
Times store
yeah.
in Korea as well. That also had a lot. But you guys really broke the record of how
No,
many.
Koreans really broke the record.
Oh, so
We
it was the Koreans. Yeah,
Korean is the best now.
I need to
Yeah, I
find
know they can
users there.
mobilize so many people carrying 10 notebooks, go to the events. In Hong Kong, I think we could only mobilize people to carry two or three, on average two or three, but they own a lot more, right? But I don't think I mean, they don't really want to show that they have huge number of notebooks they collected. So they would just
They were
being
bring the
shy,
ones they
showing,
used
yeah,
the
yeah,
most.
yes,
I love that. And I think it's just so much fun because, seeing that's not just like, evidence of us buying a lot, but like it is us actively trying to be have this lifestyle where you want travel or like recording things or doing like writing things to be part of my everyday life, like whether through accessories or the inserts and the leather cover itself. And I think it's quite a amazing culture and
yeah,
one that I really hold on to all these
yes,
years and today do a podcast about it. But like
yeah.
and I love that you're still kind of spreading that joy and inspiring us through your feed, even through the world has gone through so much this
Yeah,
year.
it's always fun to open up other people's journal, right? So there's a lot to discuss, a lot to chat about, and it's just like at least it's a conversation opener,
Hmm.
and then you are seeing the world through another person's eye. I mean, another person's journal,
Hmm.
and that gives you a lot of inspirations because everybody is different, and the way you use a notebook is totally different from mine.
Hmm.
And when two of these notebooks put together, you see the person in front is so different. And
Mm.
when a gathering is happening, all of them are different. Of course, we're meeting people like every day, but we're meeting their journal when we gather, right? And we are meeting what happened in their mind,
In their head,
in
yes,
their head.
exactly. it's
So
a
that's
it's
really
a
nice.
different experience for sure. Like you really get to peel away the surface of, hi, how you're doing, never
Yeah.
met you before, but actually let's look into like your
Yeah, yeah,
your page and like
yeah,
where you went and what you thought about it. And it's just
yeah.
immediate icebreaker, like straight to the core. And then
Yeah. Did you
every
draw this?
yes, what paint do you use? Like that's the most
Yeah.
common question, right?
Can I see your fountain pen?
Let's talk about your fountain pen. And I think, yeah, to wrap up this episode, I
Oh
really
yeah.
want to dig into your tool
Oh, just like my
collection.
father, it's very simple. Just like what I said, I use three pens mostly. One is a mechanical pencil.
Mm-hmm.
Another is the touch pen from Pentel,
Mm-hmm.
and another one is a clickable fountain pen. So
Right.
I would either use this one. This is a newer one from Curidas,
Mm-hmm.
uh, plastic. But another one I would be using is this Pilot's Kepless. So it's the
Yes.
world's first clickable fountain pen.
Mm-hmm.
So I would carry three, and
Mm-hmm.
one of them is a fountain pen, and I like Pilot's best.
It's a
And
Kepler's vanishing point, right? In black.
yeah, in the US it's called Vanishing Point.
Hmm.
In the other places it's called Kepler's.
Kepler's, yeah.
Kepler's. And this is a newer version. They used to have the version that you can hear the click sound, right?
Oh.
So this is a normal version.
Hmm.
So this new version that came out this year, when you click on it, it's almost like silence. And the way you retrieve
Hmm.
the fountain pen, you just push a little bit, and then it silently and slowly move the tip back,
Oh,
move the
wow.
nib back inside. So this part is really amazing. The way they had to, take away that sound by changing the design is really amazing because um, they want quiet meetings. So that's
Mm,
why a clickable fountain pen. It's like most of the fountain pen, you twist, uncap it,
right.
and it's not that noisy. But clickable fountain pen is like using cheap rollerball pen, right?
Yes, the sound and it disturbs the flow of the meeting, or like it lets
Yeah,
people know when you're like taking note or not taking note.
yeah, always like this, click, click, click. So I remember particularly one of the culture crash is when I was meeting a German pen company. It's called Online. So we were talking about Japanese culture. So they just came back from Japan, selling their pen to some potential clients. So the Germans, they told me when they were in a meeting with Japanese,
Hmm.
the Japanese were frowning all the time, and then they were looking at each other, didn't know what to say,
Like,
and
what?
then
Why are they frowning?
why are they frowning? So they like the pen design a lot. I mean, the German company's pen design a lot, but they were frustrated by the sound of it. So
Mm.
because that was twisted, ball pen.
Oh,
So
right. So when it makes the squeaky
squeaky.
sound.
Yeah, yeah. So they were not happy about the squeaky sound. And then eventually they, being honest, the Japanese explained, okay, we love your pens, but that part, can you improve that? Because it's really important for us.
I love
Yeah, that
that. The little
shows the way
nuances that
yeah,
they take care of, like
the
that they
attention to the
notice.
details. Yes.
It's
Yeah.
really why we love all these like really artisanal made things, and that what's like
Sure.
makes it into our collection.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I guess last question, you being like the connoisseur of all things stationery and like journaling analog, like what item are you looking forward to using the most in 2021, like in your personal journey?
None.
Nothing.
Like I said, nothing. Yeah, I get simpler and simpler. So my system is the same. So I look forward to see some new development from suppliers, like really changing the industry. It's more difficult now during all these
COVID.
economic turmoils and social unrest
Mm-hmm.
and COVID. So I think there will be some quiet times these 2 years, which is a good time for us to rethink. Do we really need novelty? So much new items that that you buy every once in a while, and then you just have a box of pens lying there, not using
Hmm.
them, because like I said, I want to develop a relationship with my things. So
Yeah.
I can own things by buying them, but I can start using them. That's another level. I use these products, and I really want to continue to use these products until I develop a relationship with these things, like the traveler's notebook or pens. And it's almost like the extension of yourself. You don't, you don't want to lose them. And another thing is, if you're having them beside you, you feel very safe,
Mm-hmm.
and you can rely on them to do part of your job, part of your things happening in your mind. So I want to keep it simple: few pens and one notebook with a flexible system, and it's the same. And then I continue my relationship with all these. So
Mm-hmm.
that's what I want to do continuously.
That's amazing. And I think that's definitely a mindset that we can try to take as we go into 2021, because by the time this episode is out, it's probably everyone's ready with their setup. We're ready, and we're so excited to leave 2020. And so maybe to compensate for that, we end up buying more, and then why not take the time to kind of think about what really has been serving you well, and what items specifically you want to build that relationship with it, and try to
Yeah.
more intentionally use them and apply them
Yes.
to your life. And I am so happy that we did this interview and have this as an episode, because I think this is going to be really relatable to many people, because a lot of us are on the journey or on the way to be at your status, which is you have a really healthy and really, I love, introspective relationship with your stationery, and it's serving you and elevating your process because you use them for work, for daily ideating, brainstorm, and it helps you advance forward in growing as a person. So I
Yeah.
really hope people can, find a lot of tidbits of knowledge, or tidbits of tips that
Yes.
can help you in, have a more positive relationship with your system, with your planners, and continue to love stationery, and not eventually at the point of burnout where I don't know what to do with any of these.
Yeah. And if you love your system, you enjoy using it for work, and it makes work easier a lot,
Yes.
right? And I really think that's important, because we spend one of our concepts about stationery. Why stationery? When we do a department, when we create a department, when we manage a department, we really want to ask what kind of stationery I want to offer to my customers. So our stationery is anything that happens on a desk and
Mm,
related to something surrounding the desk,
right.
because you're spending 8 hours in the office or 10
Mm.
hours in your office, it's on the desk. When you come back home, you get online, but you're on a desk, right? There are things around you on the desk. So why don't we look at stationery in a sense of space that's surrounding you in the longest hour other than your bed, right?
Mhm.
So I think stationery is always around us. If you develop a relationship with them, you have a system with them, you feel comfortable. Not only it helps you to be mindful about yourself, but also it helps you with your life, because
Yes.
there are things around you, and if you get insights from them on everyday basis, that's really amazing. So do people get inspired when they play video games? Maybe a little bit, but every day, no. So I think stationery kind of gives us that power to really, you know, um, create a new self for tomorrow.
Yes, absolutely. Well, everyone, you can follow Patrick's adventures and his not necessarily even adventure, just his everyday and how he incorporates stationery into his life on his Instagram feed, which I think I see you the most, but also Facebook too. Patrick NG is your handle, and follow Manual Factory through the Facebook page. There's always exciting things here, and I really hope we get to see more future cool items or cool events, or just things that comes out of you and your collaboration with more Japanese or Asian stationery brands in the future. And as always, you can follow us at the Stationery Cafe on Instagram, on Facebook, and we have our website for show notes. And if you like this episode, give us a review on Apple Podcasts. And we hope you have a very wonderful stationery adventure following this. And we look forward to bring you another great episode next week. Thank you, Patrick.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.